everybody? Hopefully, there's more than three people watching us. Um, this is a special edition of Ten Soldier Tuesday. We got the old man here. He doesn't like when we call him that. We had to really con him into getting him here for legal reasons. He had to come because there is an impending lawsuit for us stealing your name.
That's a fact.
Hold it up a little higher.
I can hardly wait for the proceedings.
Yeah, you and Jay Bird.
Yeah.
And Jay's in on it. So we're just we're gonna go over the race weekend a little bit, and then we're gonna have a. But if you have any questions for my dad, you're more than welcome to ask him. Zach will relay those to him. All the while he's up here, we did steal them fair and square. So that we look like real winners.
That comes with time, Jason.
There's a lot of them up there.
Yeah, you'll make it.
So, one thing that you've never got to talk about, and so I'm going to ask. This would be an interview, Dad, pretty much. So I'll ask you some questions, and all you got to do is answer.
That seems simple enough.
Yeah.
Do you have your mic on?
I do.
Pull it up, buddy.
It is on. Can you not hear me real well?
I got you now.
Okay. So I'm just going to ask you some questions, and the people that are watching might ask you something. But when did you start drag racing? What year was that?
Actually, I started racing locally in 1969-70.
So how many years have you got a math, how many years have you drag raced? 60 something?
Yeah, it's over 60 years.
So you've seen a lot of changes, a lot of things a lot of technology along the way. Sorry, we got a car pulling in the shop. But so you've drag raced for 60 years. When did you decide that that's something that you wanted to do with your life?
Well, that kind of came later in life. Early on, I only street raced. I didn't think that I would ever care for organized drag racing.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I was convinced to go to a local track on a Saturday night, and I got hooked on drag racing at a track. I liked the rules and regulations. Actually, all the safety issues was taken care of. So I've been racing legally ever since then.
So once you started going to the racetrack, did you stop street racing?
Sometimes.
What? The car, they're pulling the car in, but of course they got to get a few revs in while they're
Yeah,
pulling it
of
in.
course.
Yeah, it probably stopped soon.
I used to use your mother as ballast when I was on the street.
So even like today, the no prep stuff, we've talked about that. Is real big. Racing on the backside of the racetrack, street racing is really, brought a resurgence around. I'm going to ask you about some of that stuff later, but when did you decide to name your car the Tin Soldier? How did that come about?
Well, I was working for General Motors at the time, and several of the guys around me, they were in the racing of some sort, circle track or drag or whatever. And in those days, everybody named their car. So we kind of got together on breaking. Everybody's kicking it around and trying to come up with a name. And there was a song came on the radio, 110 Soldier. And so that kind of clicked with me. And I said, that's it, boys, 10 Soldier. And that's been the name since the 69 Copo.
Yeah. Someone asked me if we named the Mustang that Brett and I had, and then the new Mustang that we're getting ready to come out with, if we call it the Tin Soldier, and I said no, we're not. Dad would never let us put the name on anything other than a GM products.
Right on.
So you raced that. How long did you race this? What did you race the '69 Camaro in, and how long did you race it?
I ran the '69. I started out originally in stock, and then when they opened up the rules in super stock for the big rubber and tubs that go under them, then that's the time that I switched to super stock.
Okay.
So it's been a super stocker ever since. Now the Corvette, I ran it in stock early on, and A Sports and B Sports. So rear ends were kind of fragile in Corvettes, independent suspension. I almost crashed it at Thornhill one night. I went airborne after hitting the timing system. So I decided after that I'm going to get me a car that's got a straight rear end in it.
Yeah. Which is honestly, that's still the problem with a Corvette today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why, they're easy to go. And really it's funny, the numbers are kind of about the same. Like, you start going 9s with the Corvette today and the rear end gets weak, you got to upgrade them. So kind of the same thing that you ran into. Is my mic good now, Zach? Okay. So you raced the 69 until what, like 85, 86-ish?
Yeah. Last year was 84, I think, Jason.
Uh-oh.
Oops.
You lost our check.
You've already been paid.
Yeah, it's no good no more anymore. It doesn't matter. Took it to a big bank. But so you raced till then with the 60, and then you built the car that you have now. So,
correct.
And what year did you debut that car?
Actually, 1987.
Okay, so I wasn't born until 89. So
yeah, you didn't get to see that build on that one.
no, so that's the car that I've grown up with, the car that I know. But so, and we'll get to talking about the race weekend. But I just, while I'm sitting here, I keep thinking of interesting questions for you. So, in total, you've raced for about 60 years, and let's just say 55 of it's probably been in super stock. Is that fair?
That'd be close enough.
Yeah. So I think that's really cool because now, trends in racing change a lot now. Like, we go different style. Like radial racing was really hot for a while. It's still pretty hot, but now like there's the no prep stuff and people jump around in classes so much. They jump combinations a lot.
Right.
You're trying to find an advantage. But you've literally raced the same class for 55 years. I don't know if they make them like you anymore. That people,
I'm a diehard.
yeah, people that can stick with one thing for that long. And I think all these trophies are awesome, but and you've won a lot, but you also have lost a lot. I remember seasons of just even when I was a kid when we kind of lost our combination. We had, whatever. We had a lot of transmission problems. I remember that for a while. And even at that point when you were having transmission problems and stuff, and to kind of talk to the entourage of people that would go with you, I remember as a kid you kind of having problems, and then I'd look around and there was a lot of races, it was just me and you. Because people, they didn't want to go with us because we was having problems. And
Didn't want to work.
Yeah. So it's been a real pleasure to see the stamina of you to keep going even when you're doing bad. And most people really can't do that. When they're not doing well, they decide to quit. So you've 55 years worth of not quitting is really a testament in itself. So
well, actually, when I was started racing locally with that Corvette, I was winning every week with it. So this one particular night, after the races, I won that night, and so I go inside to get my money and my trophy, and there were several other racers all standing around in a huddle together. So the one spokesman, he said to me, he said, "Ronnie, can you come over here a minute?" So I go over, and he said, "We've decided that we want you just to stay home and we'll send a check to you." And I said, "Well, that's a heck of a note, Preston." And he said, "Well, you don't lose." He says, "You'd think differently if you lost." And that stuck with me all these years. And when I was losing, I always had a flashback about that.
Yeah.
And he was right.
Yeah. Well, and I always laughed about that story. I'm like, my dad would tell me this story when I was a kid. And I'm like, there's no way this is true. How does this even happen?
I tried to quit lying.
Yeah, and not that long ago, a guy came in the shop And it's pretty funny. So with the circles of racing that Brad and I do, a lot of people don't know who you are. Like they they don't follow stock or super stock racing or NHRA stuff. So it's weird for you to go to the track and people, and I think you kind of enjoy that. And not nobody knowing who you are, but in NHRA you've really held your own. And so a guy came in the shop and he told me that very story. I'm like, well, daggone, I guess.
Said the old man told the truth.
Yeah, I guess it was true. So, it's really cool. Like, and honestly, I think about that a lot for what we do. Not too long ago, one of our friends, and I won't pick on him on camera, but he said that you guys don't quit so much that it's annoying. Like sometimes I think we should take a break, and I got that from you, just watching you race relentlessly and never quit, and even have disadvantages. I think you've always class raced. Sometimes the rules were in your favor, sometimes they weren't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the combination that's in the Camaro now. What year did you put the small block in it? It actually started off as a big block car.
Yes, I ran it in GT when I first brought the car out with a big block in it. I've had a 402, I've had a 454 in it. Still all super stock, but super stock GT, because that combination never came in the Camaro. So NHRA, in their wisdom, decided to get more cars out there, late model cars. They allowed us to put different engine combinations, but still had to maintain stock GM specs if you're running a GM or whatever. It's been a good car. I decided to go to a small block in 1985. I was having issues trying to get a big block out of the shop I was patronizing at the time. So a friend of mine loaned me a 305 to put in the car so we could go to Indy, because up until then I wasn't going. So I put that in and go to Indy, and I qualified really good with this combination, but I had issues with the engine, so that was the end of that. But afterwards I saw that was a winning combination.
Yeah. It
was easy to qualify with, and right up till today, I mean, it's still a good combination. I've had low-po motors and I've had regular performance motors, but this dish-type low-performance engine has really been a good combination for the car.
Yeah, it's he put, just for round numbers, you put the small block in, let's just say in 1990, so it's 2021, almost 2022. So for round numbers, you've been running a 305 cubic inch engine in super stock form for 32 years.
Well, that's reasonable.
Which is really incredible. Yeah, I mean, it is. So, and if you're not familiar with what super stock is, I'm going to give you a quick rundown. Basically, it has to be, if you run traditional super stock, you have to run the engine combination that came in the car. So Dad races. He claims it currently it normally is an 85. Right now he's claiming an 88, but it's a 1985 Camaro. In 1985, they came with a 305 cubic inch engine with the Z28 package. There's some other stuff, but he claimed a 305 out of a Z28. You could run it with a quadrajet or fuel injection, which for a long time we ran it with the carburetor. It has to have factory casting heads, so it's a 416 casting. The valves have to be factory size. The combustion chambers have to be factory size. You can manipulate those combustion chambers and put them back in, but they have to be factory size. And then whatever compression ratio that engine came with from the factory is what the compression ratio has to be. You're probably surprised I even knew all that.
You got a good memory when it comes to that.
So it's very, very difficult to make power. Dad's always made fun of me for liking turbo stuff. says it's far too easy. But
True.
yeah, but a lot of our development, a lot of things, even the way that Brad and I look, you I don't know if you realize this or not, but the way that we look at a race car is a lot of the reason we look at them the way we do is just watching you, knowing that every little bit counts. That especially with the combination that we choose to run. And we can talk more about that, but it's so cool that you've kept that for that long. So, do you remember what you ran the first time that you took the car out with the small block? Do you have any idea what the ET was?
It was in the 11s.
So it ran what 11?
Upper 11s.
Upper 11s. So
11s.
like 1180s, 1190s, something
Correct.
like that. Okay. So this past weekend, how fast did you go?
I went a 978.
Yeah. So for 32 years, that's how much ET gain you get with and the rules. They've changed a little over the years to let you do more and more stuff. His 305 actually it's over a 900 lift camshaft in it. I mean, so which is cool, and I'm sure he won't tell you the exact dyno number, but it does make over 600 horsepower. So back then, what did it make to the crank? Do you remember?
390.
Okay, so it was third, yeah.
Yeah, 390 to 400. That was it.
Yeah, that was probably that was a good one.
That was a good motor.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now his motor makes the same engine. We're not talking the same block, things like that, obviously. But the same engine combination makes over 600 horsepower today.
That's right.
So the fastest it's ever been has been, 965?
969.
969. And that's at, 3,000 pounds, basically?
Over 3,000.
Yeah, there was like 30, was it 3150?
Well, at the time I was running the flat top combination, it was over 3,100 pounds.
Yeah, so what's round numbers again? 3,100 pounds, 305 cubic inch. What compression? It's 8.5 to 1 at the time.
Right.
And stock casting heads, a 48 millimeter factory TPI throttle body, and it went 969 at like 135, right?
Yes, up at Columbus that year it went 137, 138.
So that's
good weather.
Yeah, that's impressive. It's been a lot of people watching probably understand eighth mile times a little better. It basically went 6 flat is the fastest it's been in the eighth, right?
Right.
At like 110, 111.
Yes.
And the best 60 foot it's ever been is 123. So, really cool, man. Like we've lost some of that. And the only reason I'm talking about this is and not the only reason, but it's just interesting to see, like a guy named, you don't really know who Ron Rhodes is, but Ron's pretty similar to you. He's raced small block nitrous stuff for a really long time. And he's never quit on that, and now he's got a small block nitrous car that goes 14s and the eighth on leaf springs, which is impressive. But a lot of times I think we forget that just the ability to keep working on something and making it better. So 32 years with the same. That's a long time. That's as old as I am. I'm 32. So you basically have had the same engine combination as long as you've had me.
Yeah, that's correct.
I don't run near as good as that motor. I'm telling you that. Have we got any questions or anything, Zach?
Ronnie, after 50 plus years of racing, what's been your favorite racing story?
Well, probably my favorite is the guys that's through the years have come from California. They track these cars and their performance and whatever, and if there's a car in a class that it's what they consider exceptional, then they come from California back to Indy. That's our favorite track, and it's good competition. And I was king of the track up until 2 years ago, and one of the California cars came back and put the car in my class with a different combination of 350, and he outran me. He busted my bubble. So, that was one of the losing ones. Some of the better ones has been cars with considerably bigger engines, and I've been able to beat them. And it's always been fun racing them. Someone that you think might have the edge, and you can go out there and compete with them. And I think you remember Wolford.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the better races.
He's a great guy.
Great guy. He had a car that was in my class at the time and spent big money on it. He's got big money. And he had a shop down south built at B&B. And
They built nice race cars.
Yeah, nice race cars. And he started out the year down in Gainesville, and he was getting the job done. He was winning every place he went. So my guys, they were all getting nervous about this guy. So we wound up.
Don't lump me into this category of nervousness.
So it turned out we were down at Bowling Green, and he was there prior to going to Indy. So when they were lining us up, I backed up beside of him. We get out of the car and introduce ourselves. And so I looked at him and I said, we might as well get it on right here. And he looked at me real funny and laughed. That was Lloyd. Well, long story short, we wound up at Indy then a week later. And it came down between the two of us. And of course, my guys, again, they were all red-faced and shaking. They didn't want to see me lose this. And so I said, cool it, guys. I said, we'll be all right. And we're sitting there in the staging, and everybody in the pits, I think, was up there on that starting line. And so I'm sitting in the car, and here comes this one fellow I know runs super stock. He was a GM engineer, and I had my arm out the window there. And he pats me on the arm, and he said, my money's on you, Ron. And so that's the way it turned out. Lloyd has never had a good light, but on that run, Lloyd had a good light. So I was playing catch-up. And Lloyd, he's telling the story. He said, I'm going down that track, and he said, I already went past the 8th mile, heading for the 330. And he said, man, I was just grinning ear to ear. And he said, I got this in the bag. And he said, about that time, here's this 305 pulls up alongside of him and just keeps moving. So that was probably my best funny story. It was a winning story, and it was a good story. And Wolford, the fellow I was racing with, I gave him a lot of respect. He's a wonderful guy and a good sportsman.
Yeah, actually, Lloyd ended up building he built a Pro 275 car. But yeah, we could talk a long time about all the different things. Do we have any other questions, Zach? Anyone that you've seen?
Have you ever wanted to make a pass in Jason's turbo car?
Yes, and he's actually offered it at times, but I didn't take him seriously.
No, I think we need to put him in it. I was so a few years ago I did drive his car, and it's. I'm not saying it's a delicate flower, but it's a pretty specialty piece, and like to sit behind the wheel is something that your dad's really, his whole life is wrapped up into this thing. Obviously he has me too, and my sister, but a lot of his time is in this race car, and I actually had trouble doing a burnout in it because I could hear him in my helmet. He did not have a microphone, but I could hear him like, don't you over rev my engine, So the burnout was a little tricky for me, but that's the only thing I'm worried about putting him in. I'm sure he could do it, but just driving a small cubic inch turbo car is a lot different. But I do think that we need to make it happen and put you in something, even if we turn it down a little bit.
Don't turn it down.
Yeah, you're gonna hit me. Anything else? No, that's a good question. So. And really, we don't even have to talk much about the weekend. I think just sitting here chatting about stuff is cool. Yeah, I think we had a great weekend at Indy. We really did. We went out third round in Mike's car, ran a new personal best. You hadn't really driven in about a year and a half. I said 2 years on the video, but I on one of our videos, but that was wrong. We went to Indy a couple years ago. But you just had some health problems and things that inhibited you from racing. And, first time back in a year and a half. And first time you let go of the button, you were 0.26. The next time you were 0.13. And you went 4 rounds, got down to 5 cars. He lost to one of the Skillmans, which he was the champion of NMCA Superstock this year. You were top qualified Superstocker. You got $100 for that.
And that was a surprise.
Yeah, well, I kind of actually a lot of the guys from NMCA figured you were going to come and be top. They told me that.
Oh, did they?
And like last year, the last time that we rode, we did not race Indy this year. Hopefully, we can go back next and run the U.S. Nationals. But the year before, you qualified second at the U.S. Nationals. You know, in what we do, there's always talk of car count and trying to get more cars and stuff like that. And I've thought a lot about that. I don't know if there's fixing it because there's no more of your generation.
It's dwindling.
Yeah, when we go to Indy for the U.S. Nationals, there's still, even this year with all the way the world's changed, there was still, 140. Was it 140? 130?
Well, they opened it up to 150,
but
then 128's the qualified.
Yeah, but how many guys came? Was it 130?
Yes, yeah.
It was so they had 130 Superstock competitors show up, and that was really low. So I mean, I remember being a kid, there was over 200.
Over 200, 250.
Yeah, and you could only the top 128 would make it into the field. So I don't know if now thinking about racing and car counts and keeping stuff relative. I don't know if that's a problem that we can fix because we don't have any more of type people that don't quit, that just, you're going to race that because you enjoy it. So, yeah, it was a great weekend back. We were hoping to park both of them in the winner's circle, but that didn't happen.
Well, we gave it a shot.
Yeah, we did.
And I had fun doing it.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we had a great time.
I've always had more fun than I have winning. The fun part was always the best. Winning is just a little extra, but
yeah, it's a bonus. But any other questions, Zach?
Who had the better light all weekend?
It was close. Dad was 013, and my best light was at 015. So I think I did learn that from him. I'm a decent driver. I don't think I'm my dad yet.
You're coming into it.
So yeah, it's Dad just hasn't. No, now he understands more about the classes and stuff that we race. But I mean, ever since I started driving something fast, his first question was, "What was your light?" Every hit, what was your light? So, got that drained in my head pretty early. That you got to be quick on that. And yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that Brad even lets me get in a race car.
You do fine, Jason, and as time goes on, you're going to be even better. I got full confidence in you.
Well, thanks, Dad.
You have that attitude that you want to do it, and I think you will.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the people always ask Brad and I why we run, the stock block stuff. Like, we've had a lot of opportunities for different combinations and stuff that we could have ran, but I think we took a little play out of your book. Like, we like the challenge of keeping that stock block hydraulic roller engine alive,
right?
And running it really hard, and beating guys with engines that are way better than what we have. It's fun,
absolutely.
It really is fun. So yeah. Well, anything else, Zach? Well, you got anything you want to add, Dad?
No, I've enjoyed this little session here with my son.
Well, we're just hoping that you don't sue us.
Well, that's still on the table. I got to have some retirement money.
Yeah, we spend it all on race cars.
That's it, yeah.
Well, cool. Well, we'll cut this off. If you missed any part of it, Zach's gonna condense it down and get it on the YouTube channel. That'll be on there tomorrow. We'll have it posted on there. And if people liked you, maybe we'll have you back. So, but we appreciate you guys watching and listening to. Our story is not anything that's unique, but it's ours. And the one thing, we never want you to think that anything that we do is a look at us moment. It's we do it for a more of like look at yourself, like not in a bad way, but like we just want to encourage people to do things that are out of their comfort zone. and we mean that. You know, we want to watch people succeed. There's far too much negativity in the world, and just because someone else is succeeding doesn't mean that takes any success away from you or anything. So we just want to encourage you to dream, and we've done a lot of that. And so.
Yeah, it's been a good ride.
Yeah. Well, thanks to you, you've taught me how to light money on fire. So.
That's how you take a fortune, big fortune, make a little one.
But man, we appreciate you guys watching, and we probably won't be back next Tuesday. I think we're going to keep trying to do these one every 2 weeks. So, and then we got some content that's going to be coming on the YouTube channel also. So we appreciate it. See ya.